What's up, Fortnite fam? Sundown here, and today we're going to cover some of the basic terminology you should know when watching competitive Fortnite. If you're familiar with high-level gameplay, these should be commonplace and a nice little refresher. If you're a little newer, buckle in because you're about to learn up. Rotations. A rotation is the path a player or team takes to get from their current location to the next safe zone. Rotations cover not only the direction the players choose to path, but also the method they use to get there. A lot of different forms of utility enable rotations, including vehicles, rift-to-goes, building, shadow bombs, and glider redeploy. A player's ability to rotate effectively is key because this determines what type of engagements they'll be facing and whether or not they're at an advantage or disadvantage. Gatekeeping. Gatekeeping is when a player who is secure inside the safe zone puts pressure on an opponent who is forced to rotate because of the storm closing in on them. The gatekeeper is able to get uncontested shots onto the opponent, as they are forced to move due to not wanting to take damage from the storm. You will see a lot of top players utilize this in order to create opportunities to get eliminations and points. High ground advantage. High ground advantage is when you have a height advantage over your opponent and are looking down on them. Having the high ground enables you to have more access to information and easier ability to take and hit shots. You will frequently see players battling for high ground in all stages of the game, but in particular during the late game. The ultimate high ground is generally the player or team who controls the highest level during the final circles, and they have a number of advantages. They are typically the least threatened, can decide when to drop down and start taking fights, and also have great angles to punish opponents with AoE weapons or rifle fire. Low ground warrior. The next term is the opposite of the high ground. The low ground warrior is the player looking to sweep along the ground floor, taking close quarter combat fights and forcing opponents to make the first move. This can also be efficient because it often doesn't require as many materials or as much of a risk to gain control of, but can also lead to being in a lot more chaotic of an environment. Backside of the storm. Speaking of chaotic environments, our next term is possibly the most perfect embodiment of this. The backside of the storm is when the safe zone is closing in towards a new one and the players are clustered in towards one edge. Generally, it is very high density of competitors, and you will find a lot of interactions, engagements, disengagements, and eliminations occurring at this point, particularly for those low ground warriors we just talked about. 1x1s. 1x1s are the most basic proponent of building in competitive Fortnite. This is when a player boxes themselves in using their own builds, making them safe from outside fire. This technique can be expanded on to allow for players to take control of a space around them, but it all starts with the 4 walls around you, then a floor plus ceiling that each have a pyramid on them. Tunneling. Tunneling is the first basic expansion of the 1x1s. Tunneling is when players create a tunnel out of their own builds in order to rotate safely. This is typically done by putting out floors and ceilings in either a straight or diagonal path, then covering your sides with walls as you advance. This allows players without utility to rotate for maximum safety. 90s. 90s are when players utilize vertical 90-degree rotational building in order to build upwards as fast as possible, while also remaining covered. This enables players to try and gain high ground advantage or outplay their opponent to get a quick, different angle. You'll frequently see them used in mid-game build fights or in endgame scenarios where players have to build up very quickly. This has been a quick rundown of the common competitive terms that are frequently used on broadcast. If there are any other terms you're unfamiliar with, let us know using the hashtag #FortniteWorldCup and asking for an explanation. We hope this helps you level up, and we'll see you all on the battle bus.